Wasabi everybody, welcome back to another Top 10 Commander video, and I was just thinking, it's been a long time, it's been many moons since I've made a Top 10 Cards on the Ban List video. I think it was all the way back in 2017, but I'm here to do it again. So I'm going to talk about the 10 cards that I think could be removed from the ban list. That isn't necessarily to say that I think these wouldn't be broken, but realistically, we have a lot of powerful cards in the format. I think the growth of competitive EDH has also influenced the ban list. We have cards like Flash getting banned because of the Protean Hulk combos that everyone complains about. Wizards of the Coast, they say it's a one-time thing. They're not going to influence the ban list because of competitive EDH. But we have to be honest about that. Competitive EDH is going to influence the ban list, and when you see a lot of powerful cards in the format, you're left to wonder often, why is this card too powerful? So let's start it off here with number 10. Number 10 is Emrakul the Aeon's Torn. Let's start this off with a very controversial card, and again, I'm not here to debate whether or not these cards are powerful. I think everybody knows Emrakul's powerful, but it's really just in addition to what is already busted in Commander, and it's a ton of Eldrazi. Emrakul is an extra turn spell, Emrakul can't be countered, Emrakul has protection from just about everything, and it has the same kind of Annihilator ability as those other Eldrazi did in Rise of the Eldrazi. That being said, Emrakul is also 15 mana. A lot easier to get to in Commander, but we have a lot of win cons that are much cheaper. So Emrakul would certainly be a win con in a colorless deck, especially if you can replay it, and that's why it's number 10. So I mean, it's one of the more powerful cards on the ban list, but it's something that if you had to unban, let's wait and see how powerful the format gets, and then I think some people might be on board. And then number 9, we have Iona, Shield of Emeria. So staying on theme there a little bit, we're talking about Emeria right after Emrakul. Iona was very controversial, and I've talked about how much I didn't like Iona's design before, but that was a while ago, that was like 4 years ago. Things have changed since then. Not saying that people would look forward to seeing Iona in 2021, but this being able to shut down monocolored decks does not quite seem as much of a problem. And to complain about Iona now when we just have so much powerful stacks, resource denial, for 9 mana in white, if you're able to get Iona out there, even if you're able to cheat her out there, again, not going to be fun to play with, not going to be fun to play against, but it's something I don't think is nearly as powerful as she used to be. And then number 8, we have Balance. Balance, I can understand being annoying, it's only a 2 mana sorcery, and you're essentially punishing the player who's ahead, like every single time. If they have more lands, they have to sacrifice lands. They have to get down to pretty much the same level as the lowest player. Same thing goes with cards in hand, same thing goes with creatures. Beyond that, I've never really understood the broken aspect to Balance. I think it's a good card to play in white. White does a lot of evening of the playing field, and this is pretty much the card that defines that. You're bringing balance to the board. I mean, there's always something that you can do to take advantage of a balance, just like you could take advantage of pretty much anything like a Cataclysm effect. This just happens to be on a sorcery, so the only thing going against it is obviously it's a 2 mana sorcery, it's pretty cheap. I personally don't think it would be that big of a deal to see it in Commander. It might actually be interesting to see this in competitive play. Then number 7, we have Gifts Ungiven. Gifts Ungiven would be incredibly powerful in Commander. Again, not arguing against that. We have Intuition, we have a ton of tutors, and I get it. I know, Gifts Ungiven would make it so easy to combo with 2-card combos, but so does every other tutor. So does like Survival of the Fittest. We have a lot of things that make it easy to combo. So Gifts Ungiven, compared to a lot of other tutors, I don't think it's quite as powerful as some people are fearing. It would be powerful, it would get you your 2-card combos, it would pretty much make it so that the 4 cards you get, doesn't matter which 2 are going to the graveyard, you'd get your combos. But it's like so many cards that already help you do that. Instant speed in blue, that's great, really quick, but it's not quite to the level of busted that I think it is anymore. And then we have number 6, Lutri the Spell Chaser. Now we're getting to cards that I think should probably be unbanned. Lutri is a good card. I can understand the concern around it being basically a dual caster mage with no drawback to playing it alongside your blue and red deck. That being said, there are fewer combos because of the fact that Lutri is a legendary creature. So if you were to copy a Twin Flame, yeah, you could get infinite triggers, but you wouldn't get infinite creatures because Lutri is legendary. I think a condition that would be reasonable would to ban Lutri as a companion. So you'd have a banned as a companion section. I know a lot of people want to bring back the banned as a commander section so that we could interact with some really good creatures that are not necessarily going to be commanders. And while that might be confusing at first, Lutri never got to see the light of day. You know, Leovold did, and I think that's a great injustice. So number 5, we have Arayo Soratami Ascendant, and you could flip it into Arayo's Essence. I think a lot of people know this card would be annoying. However, and this is a pretty big however, this would make competitive EDH a lot more interesting. If we're talking about cards like Flash getting banned, the concern about how easy it is to play your combos, Arayo's Essence is not exactly the easiest thing to get to, but in competitive play I think it would be right on par. But again, this is an example of something you could have as banned as a commander, and then it would just happen to be another really powerful blue spell, you know, like we have a ton of them. And then number 4, we have Grizzle Brand. Grizzle Brand has been Grizzle banned for a long time, I think too long. I think it's time for Grizzle Brand to come back. 7 life for 7 cards. I know Yawgmoth's Bargain is essentially like the same thing. If you can pay life to draw that many cards, why wouldn't you do it? The difference here though is that you have to pay 7 life for 7 cards. You don't get to pick and choose, you don't get to draw until you get to the card that you want. You have to lose life in intervals of 7. So it does make it a little less flexible while still being pretty powerful, and you have a massive 8 mana creature. Razaketh, I think, is the same kind of creature that is still allowed to see play, even though you can tutor to get exactly what you need. And there are a lot of competitive decks that are built around cheating Razaketh into play to tutor for whatever you want. So while some things are accepted like that, 7 life for 7 cards is viewed as too powerful. And it might be too powerful, but we have a lot of powerful stuff in the format, and I would like to see, even if it's for like a test period, how Grizzle Brand would play out. So going into the top 3, now we're really talking about cards I would like to see unbanned. Number 3 is Primeval Titan. I guess one of the biggest concerns for Primeval Titan was the fact that you can get any 2 lands. You can go get Strip Mine, you can go get Field of the Dead, so that's really powerful, and I'm never going to deny that kind of power. But it just seems like we have a ton of really ridiculously powerful things already. And with a commander option like Golos, seeing that kind of power, it just seems like Primeval Titan at this point would just be more of the same. It's great for a ton of triggers. So while casually, there's no reason why a green deck wouldn't want to play Primeval Titan, you have to consider that we have a ton of land strategies that are already pretty powerful, and how this isn't exactly going to break them further. It's arguably the most powerful strategy in the format, and while that could be an argument for keeping it on the list, it's not exactly something that I think is too much for the format. So number 2, we have Sylvan Primordial. Now Sylvan Primordial, to me, is one of the worst additions to the ban list way back. I think this card has been banned longer than most people have even played EDH to really understand why this is a good ability, a good ETB. And of course, it's the same thing. You have an ability that will get you a ton of lands, combined with non-creature removal for each opponent. You don't have an attack trigger though, so it's less busted. And if you have Blink, go ahead, blink a 7 mana creature. If we're gonna complain about Protean Hulk and needing to ban Flash for that, I just don't really get why Sylvan Primordial needs to stay on the list. Everyone knows it's powerful. It's not like you can single out and target an opponent though. You just hit 1 non-creature permanent for each opponent. To me, it would be more political that way. I think it would make the game more about how can we take down the Sylvan Primordial player. It's a powerful card, but it's not something that immediately says destroy all lands. We have a lot of cards on the ban list that are just destroy everything, and they just ruin how hard everyone worked in the game to build up their boards. Sylvan Primordial is not that busted, it's not a game ender, and if you can blink a creature 1,000 times, you are already going to win with something like a Deadeye Navigator. And if good ETBs are powerful enough to get a card banned, why do we still have Peregrine Drake and Palinchron? It's just a really weird justification. So number 1, this is the card I think, without a doubt, it's time to unban, and it's a commander option that I don't even think needs that banned as a commander specification, but Braids Cabal Minion. Yes, can Braids set the pace of a game in a way that few other commanders are able to? Of course, but this is on par with what is already viewed as acceptable stacks in the format. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player sacrifices an artifact, creature, or land. It's symmetrical. It's not really abusing your opponents in a way that I think would be deserving of banning. So Braids is something I think easily, kind of like with Grizzle Brand, give it a little test period, see what happens. Maybe if you add the band as a commander section, you start to look at those options a little bit more, just to see the impact, but I think Braids, either way, is not going to be that powerful. Certainly not anywhere near Grizzle Brand threat, Iona threat, Leovold threat, Luxury threat, and especially Emrakul threat. It's just something that would slow down the game, which I can understand, but it's not super oppressive. So anyway, if you enjoyed this video, like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. Have a wonderful day, see you all next time.